Hello everyone, I'm Lauren and welcome to another video from the Tiny Menagerie. This is my current cherry shrimp colony. They are in a planted 25 litre tank that has been established since around January time. The tank has gone through a few different rescapes since then, but despite my endless tinkering, their numbers have been steadily increasing, and from the original 10 that I introduced, there's probably now getting on for around 100 in the tank, including all of the little shrimplets. And as their numbers have grown, I have started to notice a slight issue, and that is that there is a marked decrease in their growth rate. Shrimplets born now are taking much longer to reach adulthood than they were a couple of months ago. And also, the colony doesn't seem to be producing as many large females as quickly as I'd like it to. And this is likely to be a case of over-competition in the tank. The adults are keeping every surface scraped so clean that in between feedings there's nothing for the little shrimplets to be eating, and so they aren't growing as fast as they potentially could. Now, I could go down the route of simply feeding more and more to keep them growing, but even then that might not actually help with their growth rate. A study into density and gender stocking of neocaridina published by the Journal of Crustacean Biology suggests that high density alone will reduce growth rate, so feeding won't necessarily help the matter and get them growing again. And what this all boils down to is that it is time for the colony to move to a nice new tank where they have space to expand and I can maintain more adults. I always knew this day was going to come. A 25 litre tank is really rather small for keeping a cherry shrimp colony, especially if you plan on letting them breed. Neocaridina can reproduce remarkably quickly, with each female producing roughly 30 shrimplets every couple of months. And I suppose this is leading to, here is their new home. It is a 64 litre cube tank that I've arranged to be as easy for catching shrimp as possible, while still being visually pleasing and offering the shrimp with a variety of different places to go. There's plenty of shadows for hiding in there, but there's also open areas where algae and biofilm can proliferate and grow, and this is going to give those shrimplets something to feed on in between times when I'm feeding them. I particularly wanted the tank to have plenty of Christmas and Physidans moss in there. These act like a kind of internal filter and they trap bits of floating matter from the water column as it flows past. This can then be fed on by the shrimp, which in turn increases how much they can feed between meal times. And to further help that even more, I am trying really hard to keep the number of snails down in this tank. Ram's horns are wonderful little snails for keeping your tank clean, but they are a direct competitor with shrimp for food, and they can easily consume as much of the food I put in the tank for the shrimp as the shrimp themselves do, which is frustrating to say the least. In the interests of keeping catching shrimp as easy as possible later down the line as well, all the plants are attached to rocks rather than into the substrate, with the exception of the crypts and the rotala, but they're all around the edges so they don't worry me too much. This means that all of the plants can be easily removed if they're in the way, and the same goes for the hardscaping as well. None of this is glued together, all of the wood is just balanced against each other so I can take it out if I need to. So the tank has been set up for around 4 months now, and it's been through all of its cycling phases. It's had various fish in here as it's been used for filming projects, and it is now nice and stable. When it comes to actually moving the cherry shrimp colony to the new tank, the most important factor is that they are going from like to like, as shrimp can be very sensitive about large changes in their water parameters. And so, excluding size, I have tried to keep the old and new tanks as similar as possible. The new tank has the same substrate, a mixture of small pea gravel, coarse sand and fluval plant substrate. It also has exactly the same types of driftwood, and mostly the same plants as the previous tank. There's just a couple in here that weren't in the other, but even then, it's just this coffeefolia variety of Anubias. And Anubias is a plant type that the shrimp are used to because they've had Nana in the old tank. I've also been sure to make sure I move water between the two tanks frequently. This is just so that the same types of bacteria are both introduced. And overall, the two tanks should now be similar enough that the shrimp won't really notice that they've changed location, and everyone should just survive the trip. And just to make doubly sure that the tank is ready for the new colony to move in, it has been inhabited by a couple of sacrificial lambs for the past month. These brave little souls have thrived in the tank, and I am happy now for the rest to be slowly moved over. And it is going to be a slow process. I'm using this as a bit of a hard cull as well. Only shrimp that are as close to perfect as my colony currently produces will be good enough for the new home. Everyone else is going to the cull tank. and so that means I have to meticulously inspect and net every single shrimp to decide if it is worthy of the new breeding. At this stage, any shrimp that is showing any signs at all of a clear carapace isn't going to be good enough. Although, to be honest, this extremely poor quality male does seem to have slipped through somehow, and so he's going to have to be netted out, before my best girls get transferred over as well. I also don't want to miss any good shrimp from the shrimplets, and so I need to wait for the babies to slowly grow up so that they can be transferred or culled, and that is going to take a few weeks, although it will be much quicker once the adults in there have been removed and they're getting more food. Once these babies reach about 1 centimetre in length, they will be large enough and strong enough to be transferred over if they're good enough, without too much risk of the process damaging them. And the last reason why this is going to take me a while is that I do need to be a little bit careful when I'm catching the shrimp, because I have 5 little killifish fry living in here too. They're only about 4 weeks old, and so I really don't want to disturb them too much. It has now been a couple of days and I am slowly moving everybody over. So far, only about 15 adults have made the cut to move to the new tank, and now there are only 2 more adults I can see in the old tank that I really do want to catch. But some of the little shrimplets are showing great promise and they're colouring up very nicely despite their tiny size, so they are certainly going to be worth the wait to catch. At this minuscule size, they're only about 3mm long at this stage, it would be far too risky to try and net them. Much better to just be patient and let them grow and toughen up a little bit first. Now obviously the cherry shrimp will eventually overpopulate the new tank as well, and at the moment I don't have any plans to give them a larger premises. Luckily though, I do have a boisterous clan of barbs who would be more than happy to be put on shrimplet removal duties should the need arise. Hopefully though, that won't be happening for a few months at least. Either way, this colony is now ready to start the next stage of its growth and development, and with so much more space, I should see them growing faster and hopefully producing more of those large females that I'm short of at the moment. Although having only just been moved, I don't really expect them to start breeding successfully for about a month. The females I'm transferring will also have been mated in the old tank, and they may well be carrying less than ideal offspring, and so I have a couple of shrimplet hunters in the new tank in the form of a pair of celestial pearl danios. These guys aren't ravenous, they're not going to attack any of the larger shrimp, but they will take out the tiniest little shrimplets. And they're just going to be in there for a few weeks so that I can kind of get a clean slate with the females. That way I know that they will only have had the opportunity to mate with the males that I've selected to be worthy for them, rather than the ones that were in the old tank. And this should hopefully dramatically increase the rate at which the colony improves. Hopefully. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little video about moving the neocaridina shrimp to a new tank. Happy fish keeping everyone, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye!